we're going to talk about the business quadrant, where you want to be, where your money makes money. If you're in the business quadrant, you could leave your business for an extended period of time and money still comes in. You don't have to have your finger on it. Now, this takes time and intention to build your business this way. But I'm here to tell you it's worth it. When you set up certain things to work without you, we're going to go back to Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the business quadrant, you have the investor quadrant, you have the employee quadrant. The business quadrant is going to dictate that you hire people. 75% of small businesses in America have less than 3 employees. They're not trying to grow their business to a point that it can exist without them, because a lot of people feel the need to be needed. They need, it's like, once again, check your language. If you're like, well, the reason that my business is doing X, Y, and Z is because of me, you need to check your language. Now, I've always had an employee or two, and I have, tested this, the heart attack. I was flat on my back. I didn't know what was going on. The business still made money without me because it was set up to make money without me. What you got to do is create systems and processes. Systems and processes. And this is something that is going to take you a few years to put into play. But if you don't intentionally build your business this way, you're not going to get there. It's not going to happen. So the first step is to write down your intentions. What do you want to be? Where do you want to take your business? Where do you want to, hold on. Good Lord. I can't even, sucker won't even move. All right, here we go. You want to write down your intention. You want to say, I want to build a business that can exist without me. One of the critical first steps is hiring people. You've got to get over that. You've got to hire people, because the faster that you hire people, the faster that your business has systems and processes. Because let's say you want to start a lawn service. You have a job. The best thing for you to do is not to quit your job. The best thing was like, I'm going to go out and get some customers. I'm going to hire some employees. And from jump, you're working your job while they're out there doing the business thing. The business is paying for them. You may not make a lot of money, but you're building the asset. Assets are very, very important in your quest for wealth. You got to have an asset. My asset is my business. My asset is my ebooks. My assets are my online courses. These are things that throw off cash. You got to be working on a business that is becoming an asset. So the question is, and we're about to get into the intention of starting a business that is profitable. Going back to 75% of small businesses in America have less than 3 employees. Most of these businesses are not making $1 million a year. Many of them don't even make $100,000 a year. Yeah, they only make $100,000 a year because you've ever seen, hold on, let me show you what many business owners do. This is what many business owners do. Now, the way that they make these pumpkins is they put a mold over a growing pumpkin. Because the mold is smaller than what a pumpkin can do, because the pumpkin literally grows into the mold. And once it fills the mold up, the pumpkin stops growing. This is what many small business owners do. By creating a business with a framework that is heavily dependent upon the business owner, it can't grow. That's the framework that they've created. And many business owners unintentionally do this. They've got a mold around their business that's going to limit growth. The mold is the business is too dependent upon them. They don't trust anybody. They're not going to have any employees. They're not going to it's very interesting. It is very interesting how many people do this. And they don't take into account that you must plan for growth. To be a business owner, part of your planning must include growth. So one of the things is intention, mindset, and contemplation. Do you have it in your mind to grow your business? Is this something you really think about? The average business owner wants more money. They don't want to grow their business. See, money is a byproduct of growing your business. So you should be focused on growing your business and then scaling your customer base. Making more money comes along with growing your business. How many of you here have a business with more than 10 employees? Philip Hudson, I have that issue having a barbershop, high turnover rate. Let's get into the problems that the business owner has, that Philip Hudson has. First of all, hiring excellent employees is a challenge. That is a big, big challenge. Hiring someone, you could say, here are the keys to the shop, you drive it. Because one, either they're going to want to make all the money when they haven't taken the risk. Because see, this is one of the things. You should never give anyone equity in the company that isn't a founder or a critical part of the company. This is a mistake that a lot of founders are making. They're giving like the secretary equity in the company, right, to offset the low pay. Just find someone that'll work that cheap because you're diluting equity. So the hiring process, this is the hiring process that I have. One of the first things I have them do is fax me their resume. Now, that doesn't seem particularly hard, but who has a fax machine? See, they're going to have to get up off their butt, go to a UPS store or somewhere and use their fax machine. You would be surprised at how many people would not apply for that job because they have to do something as simple as fax their resume to you. This separates the good employees from the bad employees because, like, okay, I got to get in my car, I got to drive 5-10 minutes, pay $1, fax this resume. Typically, if you can get people to do that, which means they know how to follow instructions, which is a very important part of creating a business that operates itself, you may have a winner. So the second thing is we have a phone interview. A phone interview. Get to hear them, get to ask them some questions and stuff. It can either be a phone interview or it can be a video interview, preferably a video interview. So you can also bring them into, you can see them, they can see you, and you can check the vibe. And the third part of this is you have a temporary employment contract. See, the thing is, you don't want them to think that they have the job because people, they get the job, they razzed up for about a month or two, then they settle into their bad habits. So you're on a 90-day job window. It's like, this is the temporary employment contract. You get paid this during the training. And every month we're going to sit down and we're going to evaluate, is it working? Are you doing a good job? Do you like it here? And every 30 days you schedule, sit down, a little chat. Doesn't have to be long, 10-15 minutes. Like, hey, how are you doing? You like the work? Blah, blah, blah. Because what this does is forces the employee, because it's like, I'm in here, but I don't have the job yet. So this is going to force better behavior. And they're going to be in the habit of putting out their best work because you've set the format up like that. Stack the Flipper. Good morning. That was a good book, Real Talk. I hurt my back a few weeks ago and everything dramatically changed. Hiring people is a must if you want a business that can run itself. Yep. Save, invest, repeat. I no longer hire employees. I train techs and turn them into subcontractor and sell them leads. Interesting. Seems like you have a very interesting business model. AJ Poole. These are gems here. I hired what I thought were rock stars, but over a short period of time, they fizzled out completely. Yeah, because one of the things is today's employee is out for self. It used to be you had a job, you went in, you did your best work because you represented not only yourself, but you represent your family, and you don't want to give your family a bad name. These folks, half of them will not even show up at the interview. And this is a problem that I had when I had two people, doing the interviews. I wasn't part of the first interview. I was part of the last interview. And we had people, I remember Valencia had set up appointments. Half the people didn't show up. Yeah, I'll be there. So you're dealing with a very different workforce. So the first thing is you have them fax you their resume. Then you do a video chat. Then you bring them in for an in-person meet to check if they can show up on time. Then you do the 90-day job contract, temporary job contract. And this process, the last few hires I've done, they've all worked out because you've got to make them feel that they're earning the job so they will respect you, so they will respect what's going on. Because you cannot build a business that operates without you, without employees. You just can't do it. There's a few digital things you can do, but still, like take Ty Lopez. Ty Lopez probably has 20 people on his team. Grant Cardone, he has a few hundred employees. The bigger you get, the more that's required. And there's just no way that you can do all that stuff. You're going to need employees. You're going to need people to show up. And one of the things that happens when hiring employees is you'll get people, you got to explain how your company works. Like this is something that popped up last time. Last time I had a job, there was this thing called putting a week in the hole. Currently, folks are like, no, I need my money. So there's an expectation that if they start work on Monday, they will be paid Friday. So if you cut checks in the morning, there's a possibility that someone can get paid for hours they didn't do because people could be late, they could be cheating time. There's so many things. And this was the thing because I was like, it's like, hey, no, we get paid like this. And I just went ahead and changed the payroll. And what I did this time is I mentioned you'll be paid every 2 weeks. Payday starts this day. And you have to set clear expectations. You have to outline, you may be thinking, well, this is such a little thing that they may get it. No. You have to make it kindergarten simple. Once again, when you're dealing with employees, you have to make it kindergarten simple. Interview no shows are always the worst way of time. Sean Stewart, if you can't scale, you're dead. And that is a big truism there because we have so many people who are just yard birds. These people, if they had a company, they wouldn't hire themselves because they're such yard birds. But a big part of setting up a company is having a written job description. And preferably you as the owner has done that job. So they can't BS you. It will take this long. Like I'll give you an example. For a storage company, we used to hire listers. And we had this one lister named NASA. We told her what the job was. We gave her access to the eBay account. And she was good for 2 weeks. Then her Yardbird side started to come out. And eventually I had to fire her because she was cheating time. She was saying she was doing X amount of work. We had a camera in the office. She was playing around on her phone and stuff. And I was just like, really? Really? So typically you want people who want to be part of your organization. One of the worst hires that I ever made was hiring someone that was trying to start a business. They have 1 foot in your business and 1 foot on their business. They're half there. They're distracted. They're thinking about what they got to do for themselves. They will ignore your business. They want to live their life on your money. They want to live their life, their best life on your money, and you will get half of a quarter of an employee. Paying up front hurts cash flow and doesn't set the right expectations. Also, I don't hire people who are in dire straits. A person who can't manage their credit, who is in a situation where their life is falling down, the pressure of having a life so bad can make them a very bad employee. Brendan Bauer, what's your advice for a 24-year-old to fix his life in the next 5 years? Start a business. Focus, focus, focus. Trav, there was an article that stated there was an epidemic of people ghosting jobs, not showing up. It's a squadron of mercenaries that are out there for themselves and don't care where your business profits. Pretty much. Pretty much. I would say hire older employees. They still have those old school sensibilities where, oh, I need to show up at work on time. That can be a problem. My two oldest employees had no problem showing up on time, but the younger ones, they had a problem. There was clock in issues. There were, oh, I missed my clock in. But I came in. I'm gonna tell you this story. I was on the phone with this girl because see, I used to be a very absentee owner. I wasn't there cracking the whip. I was like, look, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. You will have a set of expectations. They should be done. I'm not going to be here. Well, I actually showed up at the office at 11 o'clock and I'm where's Mary? And Patty was like, I don't know. So I called Mary and Mary actually lies to me on the phone and tells me that she's in the office. I'm like, that's funny because I'm here and I don't see you. Silence, silence, silence. That's the way it went. That's how it went down. And it was very interesting how managing younger employees is an art unto itself. But there is true, because last time we had, because you're talking to people. See, one of the things is you have to sell them the dream. You get people in, you must outlay a path for upward mobility, even if it doesn't exist at the moment. And that's one of the things I did. Because, hiring employees is super important. It's very important. It is an art. It's a skill set that anyone can develop, but you got to know what you're dealing with. And typically the higher prestige jobs don't have these issues of ghosting. Someone who gets an interview at McKinsey or Bain and Company, they're not going to ghost. This is a whole different skill set, whole different class of people. But you want to be on this business quadrant because once you put something together, and it's going to take you a few years, you can dip out. You can go live your life and make money. Because when you hire employees, you're buying time. You're buying hours. They work 160 hours a month. So for every employee, you're getting 160 hours plus per month. You get 10 employees, that's 1,600 hours. There's no way that you can do the work that they can do. And this is one of the reasons that many small businesses stay small because hiring is such a chore. Then this is something else that happens. Once you hire them, you got to manage them, and that's a resource. And if you've never managed people, it could be just the day-to-day management of people, setting expectations, setting goals. That's going to require you to work harder. Or you can have a bunch of grade schoolers and you doing kindergarten stuff. Well, I don't want to sit next to Bill because Bill stinks. I actually had that situation with in the floor auction business where dude had BO and everybody was complaining. And I had to take him aside and like, dude, you need to go home and take a shower. Oh, only shower like once a week. Well, you need to shower every day if you want to keep your job. Oh, so he went home, came back smelling like Irish Spring. I mean, it will shock you once you start exposing yourself to hiring people, how many people have various ways of living. Audrey, working on my business. Yeah, those people don't make the best employees because they're half there. Yeah, he was a stinky dude. So this is the challenge to get to the business quadrant because you'll have a lot of people on YouTube. This is what you need to do, but they don't tell you the details. They don't tell you what's going to happen, like how to hire people, how to get around the ghosting, how to write a job description, where to advertise. I've had some amazing luck off Craigslist. I've had some stuff from monster.com. Essentially, one of the other things that I would not do is someone was in another state and they wanted to interview for the job. And it's like, if you're not here and you plan on here, you need to be here already under your own power because you don't know if that person's going to be a good employee and you may have to fire them after they moved across country. That ain't a good look. That's just not a good look. So that's just one of the things that we will not get into. But once you can learn to hire, set expectations, because I think salespeople are the friskiest to hire because typically a salesperson is a high-powered horse. They're ready to be let free. They're ready to, and once again, this is interesting. When I talk about have these chats about how to get to the business quadrant through hiring people, folks don't want to tune in. It's very, very interesting because I see the numbers drop because it's like, oh, he's talking about hiring people. I don't want to do that. If you think that you're going to become a six-figure person, now I will say this, you could become a six-figure earner online by yourself. You can sell on eBay, you can do Amazon, you don't have to have any employees. You're not going to become a millionaire by yourself unless you're just super talented. Just ain't going to happen. Stink people need love too. That's funny. So how many of you have a company that has more than 10 employees? How many of you have more than 10 employees? Because you've got a different challenge than someone who's just a sole proprietor. Because typically 75% of small businesses, let's go ahead. The average income of now this is what I'm talking about. According to the Compensation Survey Administrator, Pay Scale 2010, the average income of small business owners vary wildly depending upon their level of experience. For example, small business owners with less than 1 year experience in running an organization earn an annual salary ranging from $34,000 to $75,000 a year. So let's get into this. Many Americans dream of owning their very own small business. Most are drawn to the promise of independence, autonomy, and working hard on something that belongs completely to them. Of course, there's the lure of money. The salaries of small business owners in the United States range from 29,000 to 160,000 a year. The average business owner's salary is $59,000 per year, including in those numbers are bonus, profit sharing, and commissions. The average bonus for a yearly small business owner is 6,200. The average profit sharing is 20,000, and the average commission is 15,000. So this just goes ahead and shows you where so many people are, because before I hired people, I was well beyond 160K. Once again, it depends on what you're doing, how you set up, but this is the thing you've got to do. Now, I've been through the ringer of hiring people. Rugged collars, sitting back and listening. Brilliant. Understand the business. Yeah, that goes without saying. You should understand. Goddess Noel, I've hired in various roles. I've probably hired over 250 people, and I've seen everything. And the last time we hired a bunch of people was the worst time, because I had someone doing the interviews, a recruiter, had Valencia setting up the appointments, and this is when we got the no-shows. I mean, seriously, half the people did not show up for their interview. And then we had this one dude, it was just crazy. Mentor Shelley, this is great information. Live show. Thankfully, I have some HR skills that help with hiring once they get people to get the business to a level. Rugged collars, I've been trying to grow without an employee, not working. You've tapped out, man. See, as a single person shop, you're gonna you're gonna reach a point where, I mean, you can work more hours. You just it ain't gonna, you just not gonna grow. It ain't gonna happen. You're gonna have to sit back, take some time, and train someone up. And one of the most frustrating things about hiring people is the lack of loyalty. You can train someone up and they could be gone in 2 weeks. You just got to get over it. Deep thought. Put it in street terms that might work. Same principle. If you're hiring some ghetto people, I would put it in kindergarten terms. Kindergarten simple. Because most people care about two things: what do I have to do, and when do I get paid? Those are two of the most fundamental things. And when I was hiring people, the jobs were pretty much laid out. And one of the things I'm going to do when we bring on some more people is just keep the same principles going. Because typically, hiring people to get to the business quadrant, depending on what state you're in, if you're in New York, there's a whole bunch of laws that you must address in New York that you don't have to address in Georgia. Who's the worst employee that you hired? I would say the girl that blatantly lied to my face that she was in the office when she wasn't. That's a big thing when you work with some people who work remotely or they have a lot of independence, is the urge to steal time. They're actually stealing from you. If they say they worked 45 hours but only worked 30, they stole 14 hours from you. That's a lot of money. That stuff adds up over time. And you'll see where the performance doesn't match the pay. Any thoughts on the virtual assistant? Hey, once again, you got the same issues. Well, they going to show up on time? Are they going to do what you need them to do? Philip Hudson, currently back as a solo in my barbershop. Definitely agree that doing solo won't help you grow. Philip, I had a friend who owned a barbershop who was not a barber. He owned the barbershop. He had 8 chairs, and he just rented chairs to barbers. He made sure they had their license, and they had to pay chair rent. Chair rent was 150 at the time per week. And that's what he did. And he would be on site. He had an office in the barbershop and he would be there. And, 150 times 8, because his rent was only 1,500. So typically the first week of pay, once they paid rent, and everything else after that was profit for him. Engineer life skills. You're so right. You tap out 250K as a solopreneur, hire the part-time employee, 6 months later, profits increased by 1/3. I was hooked. Trav, what are the things that make a great employee? Great attitude, the ability to follow simple instructions, the ability to show up on time. It ain't really that many things. Frozen Creative, outsource design work, mainly illustrations for a set price. Well, that's part of your business model. Agent J Pool, one of the problems with VAs is the language context barrier. Another is, do they have a reliable electricity in that service? Ask me how I know. You must have a VA from the Philippines, because sometimes their grid will go down and you can't contact them for 2 or 3 days. Save, invest, repeat. I never had problems with techs when they made 500, 600 per week. Once they started making over 1,000 a week, they knew their worth. Always had questions about their pay. Really? Three Kings. I know a guy like that in the barber business to sell barber products. Yeah, because he just rented the space and he rented chairs and stuff. And when he started advertising, he started charging more, because I don't even know if he still has that shop, because I know he started years ago. It was 150. Now chair rent is $300 per week, or was last time I talked to him. And he used to run ads for the barbershop on the radio and stuff. God is no. So I've worked remotely and I was paid a flat fee for completing the project, not hourly. I would think that method would save a business owner money. Well, once again, we're talking about someone who, like, I've had people who done contract work, like I need a logo or something, and they worked on that project and they got paid a set price. What I'm talking about is, if you have a business, you have ongoing employees. So, typically they're going to be in-house. They're going to be doing a lot of stuff. AJJ Pool. Yep. Rugged college. These people just don't want to work. They need to learn how to sell a dream. Deep thought. If bee even highs for mom and pops, there wouldn't be much honey. Wow. 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 Because essentially, when you're setting up your business to grow, you got a lot of thinking to do. You got to think about, where's it going? How's it going? And once again, it's very interesting how these live streams and stuff that you need to grow, because I've asked a few times and no one has said anything. How many people here have a business with employees? Because this is one of the conversations that when I run into another business owner, we can go on all day about, because I know their problems. How many of you have employees? Really set wealth. If you run the business by yourself for too long, you most definitely burn out. Money won't save you. And also, even if you don't burn out, you're gonna tap out. You're gonna get to the point where you can only make so much money. Because the thing is, first of all, hiring employees forces you to think about the business in bigger terms than it's just you. When it's just you can do your stuff like X, Y, and Z. But when you bring an employee into the mix, you have to be on top of your game. Mentor Shelley, business is not there. Save, invest, repeat, 8 to 10 subcontractors. Agents pool, I have employees, but recognize where I hired wrong. You got to be real careful with hiring interns. The laws are very different. Engineer life skills. Yep, I was tired by myself. 3 employees later, I leave the shop and work still gets to work when I'm gone. It's like magic. Money Mike, I have 7 on payroll. One step I did is technically hire myself to get the space to replace myself with an employee. Is that a waste? I don't really understand your question. I don't know what you meant. But hiring people is a critical part of growing your business, because right now I'm looking for someone to run my Facebook ads. And it's very interesting because most people want to give advice on how you can run your Facebook ads, but they don't really have, the chops to do it themselves. Engineer life skills. How do you screen prospective employees? Standard drug test. Because, it just depends. Background check to make sure, because at one point they were coming into my house. So I had to do a background check to make sure I didn't have criminals. And during the application that they're going to fill out, you're going to actually have them sign a waiver or a permission slip that you can do a background check on. Not hiring employees is the third iteration of my fitness business burnt me out. Yeah, one of the things you have to do is figure out what you can hand off to someone else. Really set wealth. I have 5 employees for my moving service. It's low overhead and great margins. Service is one of the small business. Absolutely ready, set wealth. I have seen moving companies literally change the lives of people. Uh, Thanks for the $10 super chat. And this is what I'm saying. Like, if you don't really have a lot of skills, you don't know what you want to do, starting a service business is the best thing you can do. People give advice instead of taking charge because they don't think they lose face that way. What's up, Everett J. Smith? Busy's good. Busy's great. One of the big things is, oh, you just put yourself on payroll. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that, you should do if you're a business owner, because essentially, if you put yourself on payroll as a W-2 employee, when you go buy a car, you've got W-2s. You don't even have to get into that, like, I own the business. Well, I work for such and such company. You're my W-2s. I had a client that had to do that, and Man, when she had to start paying taxes, woo, it was a like, good Lord. As a businessman, all things your business is foolish. I was the janitor, marketer, salesman, never again. I mean, because hiring is one of the reasons, the lack of hiring skills is one of the reasons that most businesses stay small. Most people don't get to the next level. And this is one of the things that happens when you don't hire people. When I was in the office business for new commercial firm, I had an assistant. You know, she used to take calls and stuff because when you call on these big companies, the bigger image that you can present, the better. What's up, Rod Smith? All right, so that's all I got for you guys. I want you to go below, get your free audiobook, and read the blueprint or the roadmap on which courses to take. There are a lot of people who come here and like, I'm new to the channel, I want to get started. I've solved that. Under the video is a roadmap, because first thing you do is start off, get your free ebook. Then you go off and then you get to your additional courses. You know, the first course you take, the third course, because this is foundational stuff. When I was doing 30 days to 2,500, I had business owners, people who had already had businesses, who had already answered certain questions. Can I do this? Is this going to work? They flourished. And I had a bunch of people who were still going through the mental process of starting a business. They struggled. So that's one of the things. So with that, I'll see you guys later. Once again, all this is below the live